So I said the 700 do build was over, but it's really never over. I was going to rebuild that motor this summer, put some new pistons in it, but you know what? We've got a few things planned this winter. I'm going to be running that sled really hard. I'm going to swap out some pistons. I know I could have done it when the engine was out, but hey, let's do it when the motor's in. That way you guys get to see how to do it. Just like if you have to do it at home, you blow a piston. This is what we're going to do. So I contacted orpsparts.com in Newmarket, Ontario. I got 2 pistons, I got wrist pins, caged bearings, I got the little clips, came with a top end kit, everything for just under 200 bucks. I mean, you can't really beat that. That's for everything. So we're going to install that. I'm going to show you how to do it. Somebody told me about this cool little trick for popping the things off. You just put that in there, pull that out. You know, if you have your boot at home and you can't get the stuff off, let's say you're on the trail, you need to pull this off to change a piston. You just use a boot lace, or I just had this piece of wire. Pops those out, no problem. You do have to dump your coolant because the water jacket there carries all the coolant. You got to clean that out because you're going to pull your jugs off. Now, I just had this off, and it is just water because we had it on the dyno. Get my air box out. Those carbs off with my big fancy screwdriver. Carbs only need to be pushed out of the way. They don't need to come right off. But you do need to disconnect these coolant lines, the carb heaters actually. Okay, that's out of the way. Pop off your remaining coolant hose here, going up to your head, to the thermostat. It's a bit of a tight one, that one. Don't like that too much. Out of everything, that was the biggest pain in the butt. Try to put back on. I can just, no, I'll take it. All the cylinders come off. Now, even when I get these cylinders out and these pistons off, I'm gonna keep my old ones. My old pistons, keep them handy. You know what? I'll even bring one on the trail with me. Leave it in the truck. So, if I happen to blow something out in the middle of nowhere, up at my camp, I can always just go, grab my piston, throw it in real quick, get me home. I'll keep this gasket set isn't very old, so I'll keep some of those gaskets, all the rings, and be able to fix my sled up on the trail. Number 1, try not to let much coolant get down inside here, or water. Make sure that you cover this right around because the bearings inside this aren't caged. They will just fall right out. I forget how many there are, but I'm going to count them when I get them out. So you don't want to drop those into your crankcase. You got to make sure that you catch all those. As you can see, there's a little groove right here, and the retaining ring goes in and around. So you just take something, poke it up underneath that ring, and pry it out. You're going to wreck the ring when you take it out of here, this little clip. Don't worry about that. You always have to use a new one. You never put an old ring or clip back in there. You gotta watch those things because they want to fly across the room. Make sure you wear your safety goggles. So I'm gonna have to use the wrist pin puller. It's pretty easy to do. All you do is you unscrew this and slip it through the piston. Just pull the pin out. You can hear those little bearings rolling around there right now. I just grabbed my little magnetic tool here, my flashlight. And that got a bunch of them. Now you got to keep these and count them. You got to make sure you get every one of these accounted for. Otherwise, they're going to be rolling around somewhere in your crankcase and, well, we know that it won't last for very long like that. Magnetize my screwdriver, send that in. Another one. There we go. That's an Elco piston, it says right in the inside. You know, it looks exactly like the SPI piston we have. I don't know if they're the same company or not. The old piston does have an arrow, points which way it goes, has the size of the piston on top as well. And you know what? I'm just looking through here, just checking to see if there are any cracks in the skirts. Everything looks okay. I'll keep that for a spare, trail spare. I'm going to tape around this cloth at where the connecting rod is, because it started to come loose on there and a little space was created. And I didn't like the feeling that a little chunk of metal could have rolled down inside there. So yeah, that's going to keep it nice and tight. So I've counted them. I have 2 retaining rings and 28 bearings on both sides. So I've got my new pistons, rings installed, new wrist pins, nice and clean, new bearings, and new retaining clips. Now I get to use my Max Stuff synthetic assembly lube. And one thing I'm curious about is if this pin fits into this piston without having to heat it up. So I'm just going to lube up this wrist pin. And that's just going to tell me if I have to, have to heat the pistons up or something like that in order to put this in. Let's see. Right on. Okay, so that's going to be easy enough. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to install one of these clips on here, just because it's going to be easier to do it now than when it's on the sled. Obviously I'm going to have to put one in when I'm done, but I'm going to do this one now. And it says in the instruction manual that comes with the pistons, you can either set the opening of the clip to 6 o'clock or 12 o'clock. That's 12, that's 6. So this is going to go in right here. It's going to go 6 o'clock. Safety goggles, because these things fly. There, now that's in there. Now make sure that it's fully seated inside that groove. No bits of pen in there. And look at that, it's at 6 o'clock right now. Now the reason I put them on that side of the piston is because these arrows right here, now that points forward, right, to your exhaust side. Now on this side, I can slip the piston pin in this way from the outside, no problem. And on the other one, I can slip it in from the outside. I don't want to have to be able to do that from the inside. It's going to get a little tricky with a piston in the way. Lube up your bearings. Lube up the inside of the connecting rod. Install your bearing. Place your piston over top and push it in. Hook your finger through the other side, you can line up the bearing. You got to hear that clip. You got to make sure you hear that clip seat in there. Put the base gasket back on. Now I wouldn't probably reuse one of these, but since this is only about a week old, it's going back on. There we go. Now make sure you line up your pin so your ring doesn't get into the wrong spot. Just compress the ring with your finger. You don't want to start this thing up dry. You gotta make sure you use an assembly lube. This Royal Purple Max Tough assembly lube is that it doesn't drip. Once you put it on the walls, and on the piston, it just doesn't fall down and drip down. Before you bolt these cylinders down, don't torque them in yet. You got to make sure you get your Y pipe on. The Y pipe more or less aligns them. If you torque down these cylinders without having that Y pipe on, the Y pipe won't be aligned correctly and you might have a leak in there, maybe lean out one of your pistons and burn it down. So you got to make sure you leave them both loose. Both of those are pretty loose. Just got the Y pipe back on here. Going to tighten that up, then I'll crank that down. Now to torque this down, it's got to be 21 foot-pounds, but I'm just going to start by doing them 10 foot-pounds each. Then I'll come back around and hit them again. I'm going to do the same thing this time around. I'm going to do it 10 pounds each one. Then I'll come back and I'll torque them to 21 foot-pounds. Well, that was pretty easy, about an hour, hour and a half to do. Took my time, poked around, never really done a piston change, you know, pretty easy to do. So I'm just gonna put the rest of this stuff back together. It's pretty easy. And I gotta thank you guys for coming back. I really appreciate your support. Make sure you hit the big old thumbs up and give me a subscribe. Tell all your friends about PowerModz.